Ladies and gentlemen, Titan Nation, it's breaking news. Unfortunately, it's not the news we wanted as uh Kevin Byard is officially traded to the Philadelphia Eagles. I have my friend, buddy, it's a good guy right here, Easton Freeze. How you doing, Easton?
I'm good, man. Was he traded or was he just called up from the farm system? Do we know exactly? I think he was called up, which good for him. Congratulations, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're still, I mean, it's news is still breaking. People are still obviously reacting to it. I think as a fan part like portion, I get the emotion, the emotions that run through Titan fans. Everyone's really upset. People are calling for Rand Carthon, which is crazy. People are upset with the team in general. People are saying we're tanking, rebuilding. I get it. At the end of the day, it is a business move, and obviously we're gonna break that down, right? We're gonna break down what the trade and what's the details about it. As of right now, how does the cap room look for the Tennessee Titans? How does the trade itself look for the Tennessee Titans? Who won, right? I mean, it's a little still too early. Obviously, a lot of people are like, man, out of all the teams, right? You had to go to the Eagles after we just
Right.
saw AJ Brown just go ham, and it's just like, oh man, and it's a bye week. You think everything is good, but you know what? You can never say it's not an interesting bye week, man. Oh man.
Yeah, you see a lot of fans calling for Rand Carthon to accept the reality for this team. Time
Yeah.
to embrace the tank, time to make some trades, but then it's wait, no, not that team. Don't trade to that team, right? Listen, fans wanted to see Rand Carthon cook.
Yep.
This is the price of doing business. This is if you wanted to see him cook, you got to let him cook.
Yep.
Whether or not it works out for the Titans, that's the kind of thing you people want to judge GMs incredibly quickly. You
Yep.
simply cannot until you see the actual fruits of their labor, which is a multi-year situation. The details of the trade, obviously, Kevin Byard traded to the Eagles. The Titans get back a fifth and a sixth round pick from the Eagles, as well as safety Terrell Edmonds. Those two picks are going to be the highest, the earliest picks that the Titans have, or excuse me, that the Eagles have in those two rounds, depending on where the teams who originally owned the picks finish. So the
Yep.
Titans will probably be getting their own sixth round pick back. They'll probably be getting the Buccaneers fifth round pick, but again, it just depends on where teams finish. They'll get the highest of the sixth round or fifth round picks that the Eagles have. Where do you want to go with this? Would you like to talk about the impact of the team, what it means for this team's
Yeah. Yeah.
the
As far
franchise's
yeah, as
goal
far
right
as
now?
yeah, as far as like the process right now, okay. A lot of people are upset with right now with the trade being it was a fifth and sixth rounder with another player. To be honest with you, I for what you know, Kevin Byard is his value. Yes, he's a value to the Tennessee Titans organization, to like us fans because he started here in Tennessee. But wait, he's 30 years old. I mean, that's up there for safety already.
Right. It's perfectly fine compensation. Again, he's on the wrong side of 30. He has lost a step in the sense that he can't really cover the best tight ends in the league right now.
Yeah.
He's been targeted in coverage a lot more this season. That's not an accident. Teams are looking to go his way more now because he has lost that step and he simply hasn't been as good in coverage. I believe he's been targeted off the top of my head, I think it's 60% of his coverage snaps he's been targeted this season. And he's not gotten his hand on a ball once, whether it's a broken up pass, an interception, whatever it is. The kind of things that we've seen Kevin Byard do in the past, the things that got him those all pro and Pro Bowl nods, the thing that made him such a valuable player for the Titans defense, he simply hasn't been doing that this year. Now,
Yeah.
part of that's because he's had to do some babysitting on the back end, and he's playing in a secondary that certainly has left a lot to be desired, and so he's put in not the greatest situation. But when you watch the tape, he has lost a step a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
He is a player on a pretty significant contract, something the Titans get off their books. They do eat some of the dead cap for him the next two seasons, but if you've seen what the Titans cap situation is the next couple of years, that's not really going to be a concern. They have plenty of money to play with there. So yeah, I don't. I think that folks that are upset with the compensation here are suffering from what pretty much all fans of all teams suffer from. You overvalue your own players,
Yep.
and you almost never get in return what the average fan is wanting in return for the players on your team.
It's never going to
And
happen.
that's evidenced by this trade, right?
Yeah, it's never going to happen. It's just, unfortunately, it is what it is. And to be honest with you, I'm not hating the deal. I understand it. We kind of saw the writing on the wall. I don't think people wanted to accept it yet. Same thing
Sure.
with Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry, there's always been talks of Derrick Henry. What is he going to do? What are the Titans going to do with him? Are they going to shop him? There's been talks of people interested in Derrick Henry, but I've seen some bizarre talk about people saying that Derrick Henry's they're trading for him for like a second rounder. I don't even think we get a third round for
No,
Derrick Henry.
no, yeah.
Maybe
So
fourth or fifth.
so just based on what I've heard, and it's all speculation, obviously,
Yep.
but based on what I've heard, this Byard trade was one that I was kind of expecting from the
Mm-hmm.
past couple of days, and from folks that I'd spoken to on this, and reading, Diana Rossini's reporting and Ian Rappaport's reporting, and all these folks that are insiders in the league. Henry obviously is one of those 4 or 5 pieces, if you're looking at the Titans as sellers, the deadline, that you would think are most likely to be moved. And that totally makes sense. I'm pretty skeptical that he will be moved. Is it possible? Absolutely. But from what I've heard and just looking at the landscape of the league, potential fits, like, this Eagles fit was one that really always made sense. And so it's not shocking that that's what ended up coming to fruition. With Henry and potential suitors, what kind of compensation you could get in return for him? I don't think it's going to happen, if I had to guess today, him being moved,
Mm-hmm.
simply because I think that the Titans' window to get adequate value in return for him
It's not.
has kind of come to a close.
Yep.
From what I understand, there aren't a ton of teams interested in him, and the Titans aren't actively shopping him. So if their aren't teams coming knocking, and the Titans aren't doing the knocking themselves, doing the calling themselves, I don't think that they move him. And I also don't think that being a guy that, if you are looking to not move on from Ryan Tannehill as much as see what you have in the 2 younger players you have in your roster, see what you have in Malik Willis, see what you have in Will Levis, which I think most folks think that they should.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on Tannehill's injury situation, they're going to have to do that, right? At least a little bit. Henry is the kind of guy that is valuable to have on your roster because he still does have the ability to take a significant workload. He has
Yeah.
the ability to force defenses to respect the run game and load the box. He has the ability to take some of the weight off of the shoulders of your young and inexperienced quarterback that you have in there, that is valuable to them, not just to put them in the best situation to succeed and win ball games, but puts them in the fairest circumstances to be able to evaluate them and see what you have.
I agree with you 100% on that one. That makes the most sense. And it seems like for running backs, it's not a hot market for running backs. If you
Sure.
look at what they paid Dalvin Cook, and then Dalvin Cook hasn't done really much of anything for the Jets. So again, teams look at that, right?
Well, it's all dependent on the style of running back, right? And with Henry, you see the style of running back that he is, and in guys that are lesser than him, like Cook, like
Yeah.
Ezekiel Elliott, like Leonard Fournette, who's still available and out there. He's that bell cow style between the tackles, not a route runner, not really a receiver. You can use him in the receiving game, in the screen game, and in the dump off game, and he's nice once he has the ball in his hands and gets a head full of steam. But unlike Christian McCaffrey, who demanded a dramatic trade a couple of seasons, or no, 1 season ago, it feels like eons ago, but just 1 season ago, it's really a completely different style of player. And so, yeah, I would be shocked if the Titans were to move him, for them to get anything better than a 5th-round pick, honestly, in return. I'd be really surprised if it's better than a 5th. And because of that, I don't think that they'll move him. I don't think they'll see that as a valuable enough return to move such a valuable player to them.
Definitely, definitely. And talking about the player that we're getting in return from the Kevin Byard trade was I think it's what's his name, Terrell Edmonds.
Terrell Edmonds, right?
I remember when he first got drafted, it was here in Dallas, and I was working in the airport, and he actually came through with his family. So his whole he has a whole lineage of family members that were part of the NFL. His brother played. I think he played for the Bills, and then now he plays for Chicago. He was an offensive. I think he was an offensive
Okay.
lineman, right? His dad, same thing. I think played for the Seahawks. Because I remember looking on like,
Oh,
man,
wow.
yeah. So he has that going for him. Again, the weird thing is it's kind of questionable is the reason why he's been switched so many teams already at such a young age. He's only 26. Could there have been injury, problems? Could have been coverage problems? I don't know. I didn't look too much into him. I just remember meeting him actually in the airport. And it's a young stud. If we could get him right and get him in the system, hopefully he could do something.
Yeah, so here I've done some digging, and again, it's been like 10 seconds since all this has happened. But here's my understanding of what you're getting in Terrell Edmunds.
Okay.
He's a player that is not great in coverage.
Okay.
He is best when he plays inside the box as a pass rusher or on a tight end or on a slot receiver. He's better in short area than he is in coverage on the back end. So a pretty different player than Kevin Byard. He's open field tackling. He's very good. Middle of the field coverage. He can get shaken in that deeper secondary, like I said, just looking through my notes here. He can make a good solo tackles and is big enough and strong enough to tackle running backs. So playing the run and playing in the box are strengths of his, strong suits of his. Just looking at his numbers, he played his first, I believe he played his first 5 seasons with the Steelers who drafted him. Went to Philadelphia this past year and played the first 6 games. But on his career, he's been targeted on, he's allowed receptions on 67.8% of his targets for 1,700 yards, averaging just under 12 yards per reception. Let's see. He's allowed 12 touchdowns to 5 interceptions and 18 PBUs. And it looks like he's averaging a passer rating of 101.1 when targeted. So again, not a coverage specialist by any means. He's a rental cornerback. He'll be a unrestricted free agent after this season.
Okay.
I would expect, just preliminarily, I'm expecting Elijah Molden and Amani Hooker to be your starting 2 players at safety, especially in the Titans' traditional defensive personnel with too high, and Edmunds to, at least at first, be brought in as that nickel safety, that safety you put in the box, maybe a guy that you have in any given week specialize on a particularly talented tight end that you're facing, but he's a rental for sure.
100%. Now, for you saying, we talked a little bit earlier about people going after Rand Carthon and stuff like that. What would be your best, I guess, advice for people? I think people are, again, you have to think about what John Robinson has done in the past and what it's kind of clearly still like lingering for this.
He left a mess that Rand is being tasked with cleaning up, right? So that this is the kind of thing, not to say that Kevin Byard was a part of that mess, but you have to take into consideration the contract, the contract that made him a topic of discussion all offseason long, right? And the Titans kind of laid the groundwork for this trade many months ago over the summer when they made some adjustments to his cap number, changed some of his contract total into signing bonus, so that he came at a cheaper price and was more palatable to be able to move. Not the long and the short of it is that he was almost certainly not going to be a Titan after the 2024 season. And so this is the last exit on the highway of getting anything in return for Kevin Byard. They took the exit. And so this is one of those things that you wanted Rand Carthon to cook 10 seconds ago. Every Titans fan, when he's hired, you get excited. Like, I get it. And the passion of losing such a valuable player, such a beloved player, a real face of the franchise, to a team that just last night there was a lot of discourse about how frustrating it is to have lost another incredible player to this team recently. Like, the spot, the details, the context of the situation is totally painful. And I get that. But just from an objective, team building cycle of team building perspective, this was the correct move for the Titans. The compensation is perfectly fine. I'm sure it was the best that was available for the player. And it's just part of the kind of ugly business of cleaning up this mess that the Titans GM, the current GM, was left by the former GM.
Yep. I agree with you 100%. People are gonna have their emotions, which, like I said, I think all the reactions right now are built on emotion. But once I think the dust settles in and people realize, I think we can, move forward. It just everything happened so quickly. I think, like, again, the AJ Brown thing, and then watching
Sure.
that, it was just that, like, triggered people, and then this was just like, man, it was just like the hammer coming down. You're just like, oh man, the Eagles, man. But it gives Kevin Byard a chance to compete, which I think he deserves, to compete for a ring,
Yeah.
and then that's what you want to see. Like I said, amazing player on and off the field, but you want to see that. You want to see these players that have been busting their ass the whole time. They know that there's not going to be a chip or even competition to get to even close to getting to the Super Bowl right now in Tennessee, and the Eagles give him that best chance. So, like I said, I hope he does, man. I hope he does because he deserves it.
Yeah, man, this is not news to you or anybody that has paid attention to this team, but I've had a lot of interaction with Kevin the past 2 years covering the team in the locker room and coming off the field during practice and at the podium. And so having spoken to him a good deal, like just the best guy doing it on and off the field. Obviously a fantastic player for this franchise, but the stalwart pro that you want in your locker room, an incredible leader, one of the nicest guys to us in the media when we come in there, happy to talk about anything whenever. A well-spoken guy who's going to be a really talented broadcaster, I think, one day soon when he hangs up the cleats. And so he's got a bright future. He's a really fantastic dude. I hope he gets the chance to compete for a ring this year in Philly because he absolutely deserves it.
100%. Well, man, Easton, I want to say thank you for coming on. I know it's your first time, but I appreciate you coming on and giving your insight, man. I'm a big fan of your work, and I'm glad we got to kick back and talk and meet in London, man. It was a kind of crazy day that night, but I appreciate everything that you've done, brother.
Yeah, man, it was a pleasure meeting you in London and a pleasure being on the show. If you want to hear more of my ramblings, check me out, Hot Read Podcast over at BroadwaySportsMedia.com, wherever you get your good podcasts. Check us out. And I look forward to talking again sometime, man. Thank you.
Of course, man. Tighten up, brother.